Commander Min stood at the observation window of Outpost Zenith 7, staring at the three massive ships that had appeared in orbit 6 hours ago. Each vessel was easily 10 times larger than his entire station. The ships were dark purple, almost black, with strange angular designs that hurt to look at for too long. They belonged to the Imperium, and they had not come for a friendly visit. "Commander, the alien delegation is ready to board," said Dongjun Han from the communications console. His voice was steady, but Min could hear the worry underneath. Everyone on the station was worried. They had every right to be. "Let them come," Min said. He straightened his uniform and walked toward the docking bay. Lieutenant fell into step beside him, one hand resting on the weapon at his hip. "Sir, we have 47 people on this station," said quietly. "Most of them are scientists and engineers. If these aliens want trouble—" "Then we'll deal with it," Min interrupted. "But let's see what they want first." The docking bay was cold. Engineer Bin Li had lowered the temperature to uncomfortable levels on purpose. It was a small thing, but Min approved. If the aliens wanted to make demands, they could do it while being uncomfortable. Dr. Wu Park was already waiting by the airlock, her tablet in hand. She was the station's chief scientist and the only person on Zenith 7 who had actually studied alien cultures. Not that it mattered much. Humanity had only met 3 other alien species in the 20 years since they developed faster-than-light travel. They were not one of them. The airlock hissed open. 3 figures stepped through. They were tall, nearly 7 feet with skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were completely black, like pools of oil. They wore elegant robes that shimmered with colors that had no name in human language. The one in front carried a staff made of crystal. "I am Ambassador Al of the Imperium," the lead alien said. Its voice came from a device on its chest, translating its words into perfect English. "I speak with the authority of the Emperor himself, ruler of 643 worlds." Min stepped forward. "I am Commander Min. Welcome to Outpost Zenith 7. What brings the Imperium to our station?" The ambassador's face did not move, but Min felt the contempt anyway. "Your presence brings us here. This sector of space belongs to the Imperium. It has belonged to us for 3,000 of your years. You are trespassing." Wu glanced at her tablet. "Our records show this sector is unclaimed. We found no evidence of settlements or activity when we arrived 3 years ago." "Because we do not need to settle every corner of our territory to own it," Al said. "A child does not need to stand in every room of their house to claim it as theirs. You are the child who has wandered into a home that is not yours." Min felt his jaw tighten. "With respect, Ambassador, humanity does not recognize claims to empty space. We have established this research station legally according to our laws and the Frontier Accords." "Your laws mean nothing here," Al said. The other 2 moved forward slightly. It was not quite a threat, but it was close. "The Imperium has been generous. We could have destroyed your station the moment we detected it. Instead, we offer you a choice. Submit to Imperial authority. Become subjects of the Emperor. You will be given all the rights and protections that come with Imperial citizenship. Or you may leave this sector and never return." "And if we refuse both options?" Min asked. The ambassador tilted its head. "No species has ever been foolish enough to refuse. The Imperium is vast and ancient. We have brought order to hundreds of worlds. We have ended wars, cured diseases, and lifted primitive civilizations to greatness. To refuse us is to refuse progress itself." "We've been doing fine on our own," said from behind Min. Al's black eyes fixed on the young lieutenant. "You have been traveling in space for barely 2 decades. We have been doing so for 50,000 years. You are infants playing with tools you barely understand. The Imperium offers you a place in the galaxy, a chance to learn from those who came before you. This is not a negotiation. This is mercy." Wu stepped forward. "Ambassador, perhaps we could establish a dialogue, share information. Humanity values cooperation and—" Silence, Al said. I have not given you permission to speak. The Imperium does not negotiate with trespassers. You have 72 hours to decide. Submit or leave. There is no third option. The three turned and walked back into the airlock. The door hissed shut behind them. For a long moment, nobody spoke. They can't be serious, Ben said. She had been watching from the corner of the docking bay. They want us to abandon 3 years of work. This station cost billions to build. The research we're doing here could change everything for Earth. They're very serious, Wu said. She was still staring at the closed airlock. They don't make empty threats. I've read everything we have on species who encountered them. They always follow through. Min walked back to the observation window. The three warships hung in space like dark planets. Dongjun, how long until we can contact Earth Command? 6 weeks, sir, Dongjun said. Even with our fastest communication drones, and that's just one way. Getting a response would take another 6 weeks. They gave us 72 hours, said. They know we can't get help in time. Min nodded slowly. He had commanded soldiers before. He had made hard decisions, but this was different. This was not just about him or even the 46 other people on the station. This was about what humanity would stand for in the galaxy. What's on this moon that's so important to them? He asked. Ben pulled up a holographic display. We've found deposits of. It's incredibly rare. In the right quantities, it could revolutionize our power systems, our weapons, our ships, everything. That's why we built this station here. So if we leave, they get it all, said. And if we submit, we become their subjects, Wu added. I've studied imperial law. Subjects have no real rights. They serve at the emperor's pleasure. We would lose everything that makes us human. Min looked at each of them. We're not leaving, and we're not submitting. Sir, Dongjun said carefully, they have 3 warships. We have mining equipment and 1 armed shuttle. If they decide to destroy us. Then they destroy us, Min said. But they're going to know they were in a fight. Get me all department heads in the conference room in 1 hour. We have 72 hours to prepare for war. As the others filed out, Wu stayed behind. Commander, you understand what you're doing. This could mean all of us die. I know, Min said, but if we run now, we'll keep running forever. Someone has to stand up and say no. It might as well be us. He looked out at the alien warships one more time. Somewhere out there, they were probably laughing at the foolish humans. They had no idea what they had just started. Humanity did not kneel. Not now, not ever. The 72 hours passed like a nightmare. Min watched the countdown on his terminal, knowing that every second brought them closer to disaster. But he also knew that every second gave them more time to prepare. Ben had barely slept. She moved through the station like a woman possessed, converting every piece of equipment into something that could fight or defend. The mining lasers were first. They were designed to cut through rock, but rock and metal were not so different. With a few modifications, they could slice through ship hulls too. It's not much, she told Min as she showed him the first converted laser. We've got 6 of these. Against their shields it might just tickle, but it's better than nothing. Every little bit helps, Min said. What else can we do? The station's hull was built to withstand micrometeorite impacts, Ben explained. It's tough, but those warships have weapons that can crack planets. I'm reinforcing the critical sections with extra plating from the storage modules. We'll lose some space, but we'll buy time. In the medical bay, Jin Song was stockpiling supplies. She organized medicine, bandages, and surgical tools with quick, efficient movements. Min found her working late in the night. How are we looking? He asked. Jin did not look up. We have enough medical supplies for normal operations for 6 months. But if we're talking about combat casualties, she paused, maybe 2 weeks, maybe less. I'm not a combat surgeon, Commander. I treat accidents and illnesses. I've never removed shrapnel or treated blast wounds. You'll learn, Min said. We all will. ran drills with the crew. Most of them were scientists who had never held a weapon in their lives. He taught them basic tactics, how to move under fire, how to seal hull breaches. They were clumsy and scared, but they tried. Again, shouted as a group of researchers fumbled their way through a simulated emergency. The station shakes, the lights go out, and you have 30 seconds to get to your emergency positions. 30 seconds. That's the difference between life and death. One of the younger technicians, seemed to have a talent for improvisation. He rigged up a system using spare parts and some creative programming that would give them early warning if they powered up their weapons. It's not perfect, one admitted, but it'll give us maybe 10 seconds notice, better than nothing. Everything we're doing is better than nothing, Min said. Keep it up. Wu spent her time studying everything they had on which was not much. Most of it came from second-hand reports and brief encounters other human ships had logged. She found something interesting in the data. "Commander, look at this," she said, pulling up a report on her screen. "They have conquered hundreds of species, but they've never actually destroyed a species that surrendered. They offer terms the species accepts, and they become part of the Imperium." "So they're not genocidal," Min said, "just imperial." "Right, they see themselves as bringing order to chaos. They genuinely believe they're helping the species they conquer. But here's the thing, no one has ever said no. Every species either fought and lost quickly or surrendered without fighting at all. We're the first to refuse and prepare to actually resist." "How do you think they'll react?" Wu was quiet for a moment. "I think they'll be confused, maybe angry. Their whole worldview is based on the idea that the Imperium is inevitable, that resistance is pointless. We're challenging that idea just by existing." The countdown reached 0 at exactly 800 hours station time. Min sat in the command center, surrounded by his senior staff. The main showed the 3 warships, hanging in space like vultures. "Incoming transmission," Dongjun said. "Put it through." Ambassador Al appeared on the screen. "Commander, your time has expired. What is your decision?" Min stood up. He had prepared a speech, something diplomatic and careful, but looking at the ambassador's expressionless face, he threw it away. "No," he said simply. There was a long silence. "Explain," Al finally said. "We're not leaving. We're not submitting. This is our station built by human hands on a moon we claimed legally. If you want it, you'll have to take it." The ambassador's 4 arms moved in what might have been surprise. "You cannot be serious. You are 47 individuals against the might of the Imperium. This is not bravery. This is suicide." "That's our choice to make," Min said, "not yours." "You do not understand what you have done," Al said. Its voice, even through the translator, sounded different now, almost uncertain. "No species refuses the Imperium. It is not done. It has never been done." "Then I guess we're making history," Min said. "Tell your emperor that humanity does not kneel." He cut the transmission. The command center was silent. Everyone was staring at him. "Well," Bin said after a moment, "I guess we're really doing this." The first attack came 3 hours later. One's early warning system screamed, giving them just enough time to brace. The station shook like a toy in a child's hand. Lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, metal screamed. "Damage report," Min shouted over the noise. "External sensors are down," Dongjun reported. "Hull breach in Sector 7. Emergency seals holding. That was just a warning shot, Commander. They barely grazed us." "They're trying to scare us into surrendering," said. "It's not working," Min replied. "Bin, can we fire back?" "The mining lasers are ready," Bin said. "But Commander, at this range and with their shields, we won't do much damage." "I don't care, fire." The station's converted mining lasers lashed out, thin beams of coherent light stabbing toward the nearest warship. The beams hit the ship's shields and scattered into rainbow patterns. But they hit. That was what mattered. Direct hit on the lead vessel, Dongjun said. No damage, but, Commander, we're receiving another transmission. Put it through. A different appeared on screen. This one wore armor instead of robes, and its voice was harder, more aggressive. I am commander of the Imperial fleet. You have fired upon an Imperial vessel. This is an act of war. You shot at us first, Min said. We're just returning the favor. This is insanity. Stand down immediately and we will show mercy. No. His black eyes seemed to bore into Min through the screen. Then you have chosen death. The Imperium will crush you. We will break your station into dust and scatter it across this worthless moon. Your names will be forgotten. Your species will learn to fear us. Maybe, Min said. Or maybe you'll learn that humans don't scare easily. The transmission cut out. Min turned to his crew. They looked terrified, but they were still at their posts, still ready. They're going to hit us harder now, he said. Make sure everyone is in their assigned positions. Seal all non-essential sections. This is it. This is where we find out what we're made of. Another alarm. Another impact. This one was stronger. The station groaned and twisted. More hull breaches. More damage, but the emergency seals held. The mining lasers kept firing. The crew kept working. In the medical bay, Jin treated the first casualties. A technician with a broken arm, an engineer with burns from a plasma conduit explosion. She worked quickly, her hands steady despite her fear. In engineering, Bin pushed the station's systems to their limits, routing power from non-essential systems to shields and weapons. Come on, she whispered to the machinery. Hold together, just a little longer. On the command deck, Min made the hardest decision of his life. He drafted a message to Earth, a message that would take 6 weeks to arrive, a message that might be the last thing anyone ever heard from Outpost Zenith 7. We are under attack, he recorded. The Imperium demands our surrender. We have refused. We know what this means. We know we might not survive, but we also know that if we surrender now, humanity will never be free in this galaxy. Someone has to stand. Someone has to fight. Send no rescue if it means submission. We will hold as long as we can. Commander Min, Outpost Zenith 7, signing off. He sent the message just as the communications array exploded in a shower of sparks and flame. But the message drone launched first, disappearing into the dark between the stars. Communications are gone, Dongjun reported. Then we fight in silence, Min said, until they break us or we break them. The siege had begun. The expected surrender within 48 hours. They had studied human psychology, or so they thought. They believed that once the humans saw they could not win, they would do the logical thing and give up. They were wrong. On day 4 of the siege, Bin gathered her engineering team in the workshop. They were tired and scared, but they were also angry. Anger was useful. It kept them moving. The mining lasers aren't enough, she said. We need something they won't expect. What do we have that they don't know about? One raised his hand. He looked like he had not slept in days. The survey drones. We've got 20 of them in storage. They're designed to map asteroid fields. How does that help us? Another engineer asked. Because, one said with a tired smile, I can reprogram them, turn them into weapons, attach explosive charges to them. They won't see them as threats until it's too late. Bin nodded. Do it, what else? The industrial fabricators, someone suggested. We use them to make replacement parts, but we could use them to make other things. Simple guns, armor plates, grenades. The station's reactor, another voice called out. If we overload it at just the right moment. No, Bin cut them off. We're not blowing ourselves up. We need ideas that keep us alive, not martyr us. They worked through the night. One's fingers flew across his keyboard as he rewrote the drone programming. Bin used the fabricators to create small, crude missiles. They would not be fancy, but they would explode. That was enough. Meanwhile, Captain prepared the station's only armed shuttle. It was called the Sparrow, and it had been designed for short-range patrols. Against 3 massive warships, it was laughably outmatched. Did not care. "Lieutenant, I need you to understand something," she said as they inspected the shuttle together. "I'm going to fly this thing into combat. It's probably suicide, but someone has to do it. Check the shuttle's weapons, too small and a handful of missiles. Then I'm coming with you. You'll need a gunner. You're needed here. The commander has plenty of security people. You don't have a gunner. It's not up for discussion." They launched 12 hours later. The Sparrow was tiny compared to the warships, small enough to slip between their sensor sweeps if flew carefully. And she did. She had trained as a pilot for 15 years. She knew how to use speed and maneuverability against larger opponents. The first attack run was a success. They came in fast and low, using the moon's gravity to slingshot around and hit the nearest warship from an unexpected angle. They hammered into the ship's lower hull, punching through in spots where the shields were weakest. It was not much damage, but it surprised them. Their turning called out, "Weapons charging." "Hold on," said, and threw the shuttle into a spin that made stomach lurch. Weapons fire slashed through the space where they had been a second ago. She pushed the engines to maximum and dove toward the moon's surface, disappearing into a canyon before they could track them. "That was insane," said, breathing hard. "That was just the warm-up," replied. Back on the station, Wu made a discovery. She had been monitoring communications, trying to learn anything useful. Most of it was encrypted, but some of the lower-level channels were not. That was where she found him. His name was difficult to pronounce, so she called him the sympathizer in her notes. He was a junior officer on one of the warships, and he was uncomfortable with what the Imperium was doing. His messages to his friends were filled with doubt. "We are attacking a research station. They are scientists. They have done nothing wrong except refuse our authority. Is this what we have become?" Wu recorded everything. She brought it to Min. "Commander, there's dissent in their ranks. Not everyone agrees with this attack. If we could contact this officer, maybe we could learn something useful. Maybe even convince others to question their orders." Min studied the translated messages. "It's risky. If we try to contact him and he reports us, they'll know we've been listening to their communications. But if it works, we might get intelligence that saves lives." "Do it carefully." Wu crafted a message. She kept it simple and honest. "We do not want war. We want only to live freely. Why does your empire fear our freedom so much?" She sent it on a narrow-beam transmission directly to the sympathizer's personal device. The response came 6 hours later. "Because if you can refuse, others will too. The Imperium is built on the idea that resistance is futile. You are proving that idea wrong." Day 7 brought the first breakthrough. One's weaponized drones launched in a swarm. They barely noticed them at first. They were so small, so slow. But when the first drone detonated against a warship's sensor array, they noticed. 20 explosions bloomed across the hull of one ship, each one destroying a sensor, a weapon mount, or a communications dish. "The lead ship is blind on its starboard side," Dongjun reported with excitement. "They're dead in the water for at least an hour while they repair." Min allowed himself a small smile. "Good, what's next?" "The missiles Bin made are ready. They're crude, but they'll fly. Launch them, all of them. I want those ships to know we can hurt them." The missiles streaked out from hidden launch tubes all around the station. Most were shot down by point defense systems. But 5 got through, slamming into hulls and shields, creating fireballs visible from the station windows. That night they tried to board the station. They sent assault teams in armored pods, expecting to overwhelm the defenders with superior numbers and training. They had not counted on human ingenuity. Had prepared ambushes at every docking point. The moment the pods attached, his teams vented the airlocks, sucking the attackers into space. The few who made it through faced hastily constructed defenses and desperate humans fighting for their home. The battle was brutal and close. We're stronger than humans, but humans were fighting on their own ground. They knew every corridor, every hiding spot, and they fought with a ferocity that shocked their attackers. Jin worked through waves of wounded, broken bones, plasma burns, one technician with a piece of shrapnel embedded in his shoulder. She pulled the metal out with shaking hands and stitched the wound closed while the station shook from another explosion overhead. "You're doing great," she told the technician, though she was not sure if she was talking to him or herself. The boarding parties retreated after 2 hours. They left behind 15 dead. The humans lost 2 people, 2 names that Min added to a list he kept in his desk, a list that was growing too long. But they had won. Against a professional military force, a group of scientists and engineers had won. Commander was furious. Wu intercepted his transmission to the Imperium, demanding reinforcements and permission to destroy the station completely. "They are vermin," he raged. "They fight without honor. They use tricks and deception. This is beneath the Imperium to even acknowledge." But Min saw the truth beneath the anger, was embarrassed. The mighty Imperium was being humiliated by 45 humans, 45 because they had lost 2. "We're getting to them," Min said in a rare moment of optimism. "They thought this would be easy. Every day we survive is a day we prove them wrong." Wu's sympathizer sent another message. This one was longer, more personal. "You have inspired debates on our ship. Some call you brave, others call you fools, but everyone is talking about you. The humans who said no. There are species in the Imperium who have been subjects for thousands of years. They are hearing about you. They are asking questions we cannot answer." That gave Min an idea, a dangerous, audacious idea. "Dongjun, can you broadcast a message to all ships?" "Yes, but they'll triangulate our position and—" "I don't care, do it." Min stood before a camera. He looked terrible. He had not slept properly in days. His uniform was stained and torn, but his eyes were clear. "This is Commander Min of Outpost Zenith 7. I'm speaking to the Imperium and to all species under their rule. We are 45 humans. We have no army, no fleet, no weapons of war, but we have something more powerful. We have the right to choose our own path. The Imperium says resistance is futile. They say surrender is inevitable. We say they are wrong. Every day we stand, we prove them wrong. To all species watching this, remember, freedom is worth fighting for. Empires can be. And humanity does not kneel." The message went out across all frequencies. It could not be stopped. It bounced from ship to ship, spreading through the communication network like a virus. Within hours, it had reached a dozen star systems. Within days, it would reach hundreds. The Empire had a problem, and its name was Outpost Zenith 7. Week 3 began with bad news. The food synthesizers were failing. Bin could repair them, but the repairs were temporary. They were running out of raw materials to convert into food. "We have maybe 2 weeks left," Bin told Min privately. She looked exhausted. Everyone did. "After that, we start rationing even more. A month after that, we starve." "Can we mine the moon for raw materials?" Min asked. "Not while we're under siege. The mining equipment is outside the station. The moment anyone goes out there, they will shoot them." Min nodded slowly. Another problem with no good solution. The list was getting longer. In the medical bay, Jin was dealing with her own crisis. They were running out of medicine. She had used most of their antibiotics treating infected wounds. The burn treatments were almost gone, and they had lost another person yesterday, a young engineer named Bora who had been hit by shrapnel during the latest attack. Jin sat alone in her office, staring at Bora's medical file. She had done everything she could, but it had not been enough. The girl had been 23 years old. "It's not your fault," Wu said from the doorway. She had come to check on the doctor. "I know," Jin replied, "but that doesn't make it easier." Nothing about this is easy. Morale was cracking. People were tired, scared, and starting to lose hope. Some of the crew began talking quietly about surrender. Maybe it would not be so bad to live under the Imperium. Maybe it was better than dying out here in the dark. Min called a general meeting. All 43 remaining crew members gathered in the main hall. He stood before them, knowing he had to say something that would keep them together. "I know you're scared," he said. "I'm scared too. I know some of you are thinking about surrender. I understand. No one would blame you. We've fought longer and harder than anyone expected. We've done things that people will remember for centuries." He paused, looking at each face. "But I want you to think about what surrender means. It doesn't just mean we give up the station. It means we give up our right to choose. The will take us to their empire. We'll be subjects. Second-class citizens in a civilization that has existed for 50,000 years. Our children will be raised to serve an emperor we've never met. Our culture, our identity, our humanity, all of it will slowly disappear." "But we'll be alive," someone said from the back. "Will we?" Min asked. "Or will we just be breathing? There's a difference. I'd rather die free than live as a slave." "Easy for you to say, Commander," another voice called out. "You're a military man. The rest of us are scientists. We never signed up for war." "You're right," Min admitted. "You didn't, and if anyone wants to surrender, I won't stop them. You can take a shuttle to the ships right now. I mean that, but I'm staying. This station is humanity's line in the sand. If we erase it, we might never draw another one." The room was silent, then stood up. "I'm staying." Ben stood next. "Me too." One by one, people rose to their feet. Not everyone. 5 crew members stayed seated, their faces troubled, but 38 stood. "Okay," Min said, his voice rough with emotion. "Okay, let's get back to work." That night, Wu received an urgent message from the sympathizer. "Reinforcements are coming. 3 more warships. They will arrive in 5 days. When they do, Commander has orders to destroy your station completely. The Imperium has decided you are too dangerous to let live." Wu showed the message to Min. He read it twice. "5 days," he said. "Can we survive 5 days against 6 warships?" "No," Wu said honestly. "We can barely survive against 3. Then we need a plan." Bin and One were brought in. They sat in the command center, brainstorming desperate ideas. The discussion went in circles until one said something that made everyone stop. "What if we don't try to survive?" "Explain," Min said. "We can't win. We all know that. But we can go out in a way that matters. We can make sure our story gets told. What if we use the mining charges to create a debris field around the station? Make it so they can't approach safely without risking their ships." "That's defensive," Bin said, "but we need offensive too." "What about the reactor?" One suggested again. "I know you said no before, but hear me out. What if we don't blow it up here? What if we load it onto the Sparrow and Captain flies it into one of their ships?" "That's a suicide mission," said. "It's all a suicide mission at this point," one replied quietly. Min was about to refuse when herself walked into the room. She had been listening from the doorway. "I'll do it," she said, "but not yet. Let me make it count." Before Min could respond, Dongjun interrupted. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange. It's multiple ships, small ones. They're dropping packages near the station and leaving before the warships can intercept them." "What kind of packages?" "Supplies, sir. Food, medicine, power cells. They're labeled in different languages, at least 3 different species." Wu leaned forward, excitement in her eyes. The sympathizer mentioned this might happen. There are other species in the Imperium who are inspired by what we're doing. They're sending help. Over the next 2 days, more packages arrived. Not many. They intercepted most of them, but enough got through to give the station new hope. Food that would last another month. Medicine that Jin accepted with tears in her eyes. Even a few weapons, crude but functional. Each package came with a message. "You are not alone. Keep fighting. We see you. Freedom is possible. The Empire was fracturing, just a little, just enough to notice. Commander responded with fury. He intensified the attacks, trying to break the station before the reinforcements arrived, and his failure became even more obvious. The bombardment was relentless. Hull breaches. Systems failed. The station groaned and screamed like a dying animal. On day 22, disaster struck. An explosion in the lower decks killed 3 people and critically wounded 5 more. Jin worked for 18 straight hours trying to save them. She managed to save 2. The 5 crew members who had wanted to surrender approached Min. They were taking a shuttle to the... He let them go, as he had promised. He watched the shuttle depart and hoped they would be treated well. He doubted it, but he hoped. Now they were 38. The sympathizers sent a final message. The reinforcements arrive tomorrow. I am sorry. I tried to delay them but failed. When they arrive, we'll attack with everything. He wants to erase you before your story spreads further. It is already too late for that. You have changed everything. Thank you for showing us that defiance is possible. Min gathered his senior staff. They all knew what was coming. We have 1 day, he said. Maybe less. Bin, I want that debris field ready. 1. Prepare the reactor for transport. Get the Sparrow ready for its final flight. Make sure everyone knows their emergency positions. Wu, draft a final message to Earth. Tell them everything. Make sure they know what we fought for. And you, Commander? Wu asked. Min smiled tiredly. I'll be right here, doing what I do best, making impossible decisions and hopping there the right ones. The next morning, sensors detected 6 ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 3 were the reinforcements. The other 3 were different. Those aren't, Dongjun said, his voice rising with hope. Those are human ships. Earth sent help. Min could not believe it. They had held out long enough. Against all odds, help had arrived. But the human fleet was small. 3 destroyers against 6 warships, still outnumbered, still. An incoming transmission. Min accepted it. A human admiral appeared on screen. She wore Earth Fleet uniform and had hard eyes. Commander, this is Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your message. We're here to negotiate, not fight. Negotiate? Min asked, confused. We're not alone, Admiral Park said. She stepped aside and Min saw representatives from a dozen different species standing behind her. Some he recognized from the supply packages. Others were completely unknown. We've formed an alliance, the Admiral explained. Species who are tired of the Imperium's expansion. Your stand has given them courage. They're willing to stand with us now. They have a choice. Negotiate with all of us or face a war on multiple fronts. Min sat down heavily. They had done it. 43 people on a damaged station had changed the entire political landscape of this region of space. What do we do now? He asked. Now, Admiral Park said with a grim smile, we make the Empire understand that humanity cannot be ignored. The negotiation took place on neutral ground, a trading station owned by a species that had managed to stay independent of both the Imperium and Earth's influence. The station was called Haven's Rest, and it sat at the border between controlled and free space. Min did not want to leave Outpost Zenith 7. After everything they had been through, it felt wrong to abandon it even for a day. But Admiral Park insisted. You need to be there, she said. You're the face of human resistance now, the need to see what they're up against. So Min went, along with Wu, and they took a small shuttle to Haven's Rest, leaving Bin in command of the damaged but still standing station. The negotiation chamber was enormous, built to accommodate species of all sizes. The delegation was already there when the humans arrived. Commander stood at the front. His 4 arms crossed in what Min had learned was a sign of displeasure. Behind him were a dozen other officials, all wearing the elegant robes that marked them as members of the imperial bureaucracy. But it was the figure in the center that drew all attention. He was taller than the others, older, with robes that seemed to be made of liquid silver. His presence filled the room. "That's Supreme Commander," Wu whispered. "He's one of the Emperor's chief advisors. They sent someone important." Admiral Park led the human delegation. Beside her were representatives from 7 other species. The whose world had been conquered by the 50 years ago. The who had fought 3 wars with the Imperium and lost all of them. A species that had been part of the Imperium for centuries but were now quietly rebellious. Others too, small species, forgotten species, species that the Imperium had dismissed as irrelevant. All of them were here because of what happened at Outpost Zenith 7. Supreme Commander spoke first. His voice was deep and resonant, filled with the authority of. "This gathering is unprecedented," he said. "The Imperium does not negotiate with those who trespass on our territory. We do not bargain with inferior civilizations. For 50,000 years, we have brought order to chaos. We have united hundreds of species under one banner. We have created peace where there was only war." He paused, his black eyes sweeping across the assembled delegates. "And yet, one small station of humans has us. They have embarrassed our fleet. They have inspired rebellion in those who should be grateful subjects. This cannot stand." "Then why are you here?" Admiral Park asked calmly. Tilted his head. "Because the Emperor is wise. He sees that destroying the humans would make them martyrs. He sees that this situation requires a more elegant solution." "You mean you're afraid?" Min said. The room went silent. Grabbed his arm, trying to stop him, but Min shook him off. "You're afraid that if you destroy us, a dozen other species will rise up. You're afraid that your empire isn't as strong as you pretend." Moved forward angrily but stopped him with a gesture. "Commander, you have fought well. Against all logic, against all reason, you have survived. But bravery alone does not make you right. The Imperium offers stability, protection, advancement. What do you offer? Freedom to struggle, freedom to fail." "Yes," Min said simply. "That's exactly what we offer, the freedom to succeed or fail on our own terms. You call it chaos, we call it life." Wu stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, I have studied your empire extensively. You have united species, that's true, but at what cost? How many cultures have been erased? How many traditions lost? How many voices silenced? You offer peace, but it's the peace of the grave. Everything that made those species unique is slowly being absorbed into your monoculture." "Diversity creates conflict," replied. "Unity creates strength." "Unity imposed by force isn't unity," Wu said. "It's oppression." The representative spoke up. His voice was quiet but firm. "My world joined the Imperium 60 years ago. We were told we would keep our culture, our identity. Today, our children speak before they speak our own language. Our temples are empty. Our art is forgotten. We are citizens of the Imperium, yes, but we are no longer." Other voices joined in. The species after species, telling stories of slow cultural death. The room filled with testimonies that they could not dismiss or ignore. Listen to it all. His expression never changed, but Min thought he saw something in those black eyes. Not understanding, perhaps, but recognition. "What do you want?" the Supreme Commander finally asked. Admiral Park stood. "We want the Imperium to recognize human sovereignty over the threshold sector. We want an agreement that the Imperium will not interfere with human expansion in agreed-upon regions. And we want the same recognition for our allies here." "Impossible," said. "We have claimed that territory for 3,000 years, yes, we know," Admiral Park interrupted. "But claiming empty space isn't the same as occupying it. You have no settlements there, no bases, no presence at all until we arrived. Your claim is based on ancient maps, not current reality." "Our claim is based on might," said coldly. "We are the Imperium. We have 6,000 warships. How many do you have, Admiral?" "Not enough to win a war," Admiral Park admitted, "but enough to make it costly. And if you attack us, you'll be fighting on 7 different fronts. Maybe you'll win. Probably you will. But how many ships will you lose? How many worlds will rebel while your fleet is occupied with us? How much will it cost to put down all the uprisings that will follow? The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment. You are using the humans as a symbol, a rallying cry. We don't need to use them as anything, one of the representatives said. They already are a symbol. You made them one when you attacked their station and failed to break them. We did not fail, started to say, but silenced him with a gesture. Enough, the Supreme Commander said. Commander, approach. Min walked forward. He was aware of every eye in the room on him. He stopped a few feet from the towering. You are a fool, said. You risked everything, your life, your crew, your species, for what? A principle, an idea. The Imperium is real. It is powerful. It will outlast your entire civilization. And you it for an idea. Yes, Min said, and I'd do it again. Studied him for a long time. Then, incredibly, the Supreme Commander made a gesture that Wu later explained was a sign of respect. Perhaps there is something to be learned from you humans after all, said. Very well. The Imperium will recognize human sovereignty over the threshold sector. We will establish a neutral zone between our territories. We will engage in trade negotiations rather than military conquest. And our allies, Admiral Park asked. The same recognition will be extended to those species represented here today. Consider it an experiment. We will see if your precious freedom serves you better than our order. What about the species already in your empire? The representative asked. What about us? Turn to him. The Imperium does not release subjects. You made your choice 60 years ago. That wasn't a choice, the said bitterly. That was submission under threat of annihilation. Nevertheless, the agreement stands only for those not yet part of the Imperium. It was not perfect. It was not everything they wanted, but it was something. It was a beginning. The formal treaty took 3 more days to negotiate. Lines were drawn on maps. Trade routes were established. Procedures for dispute resolution were created. It was boring, exhaustive work, but it mattered. When it was done, Min returned to Outpost Zenith 7. The station looked terrible and broken, held together by patches and prayers, but it was still there, still standing. The crew greeted him like a hero. They had watched the negotiations via broadcast. They knew what had been won. Ben gave him a status report. The station is barely functional. We need 6 months of repairs, maybe more, but we held. We actually held. We did more than hold, Min said. We changed history. That night he walked alone to the observation deck. The warships were gone, replaced by a small Earth fleet patrol. The moon hung below, rich with that humanity could now mine freely. Wu found him there, can't sleep. Too much to think about, Min admitted. We lost 5 people, 5 names on a list. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it. They knew what they were fighting for, Wu said gently. And because of them, humanity has a future in this galaxy, a free future. What happens now? Now, the Imperium will test the treaty. They'll push boundaries, look for weaknesses. Other species will watch to see if we really stay free. And we'll have to prove every single day that freedom is worth the struggle. Sounds exhausting. It is, but it's better than the alternative. Min nodded. Far in the distance, he could see lights, construction ships arriving to help repair the station. The first step in transforming Outpost Zenith 7 into something more permanent, something that would stand for centuries as a reminder. 5 years later, the station had been completely rebuilt. It was no longer just a research outpost. It was a defensive fortress, a trading hub, and a symbol. They renamed it Defiance Station. Commander Min, now Admiral, stood at its dedication ceremony. Representatives from 30 species attended. Some were allies. Some were former enemies. Some were refugees who had escaped the Imperium after hearing about what happened at Zenith 7. The Imperium still existed. It was still vast and powerful, but it was changing. Slowly, species within the Empire were demanding rights, autonomy, freedom. The ideas that 43 humans had fought for were spreading like fire. The sympathetic officer who had helped them was there too. He had defected a year after the treaty was signed. He now worked as a liaison between species, teaching others about the Imperium's weaknesses and how to resist. As the ceremony concluded, someone asked Min to say a few words. He stood before the gathered crowd and spoke simply. 5 years ago, we stood here and refused an empire. We were told it was impossible. We were told we would die, and we almost did. But we chose to stand anyway, not because we were sure we would win, but because some things are worth fighting for even when the odds are impossible. Freedom is one of those things. Remember that. No matter what comes next, remember that the choice to resist is always available, and sometimes that choice changes everything. The crowd applauded, but Min was not thinking about them. He was thinking about the 5 names on his list, the ones who did not live to see this day. They had bought this future with their lives. He would make sure it was worth the price.